Welcome to our podcast. I'm Jim Brull. We're going to be talking about applications to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure today. And with me, I'll let them introduce themselves. And actually, before we get started, somebody got a memo. We're wearing brown today, brown shoes. So way to get started, guys. But anyway, introductions.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. My name is Scott Whitley. I'm the SVP of Sales for Centroid.
I'm Brent Skillings. I'm Director of Solution Architecture for Centroid.
Chris Wilson, AVP of Sales.
And Jim Brull, Managing Partner. Again, thank you for joining us. Scott, first question. As we look at applications to OCI, why are customers looking at Centroid to help them in some of these innovative moves?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of people are toying with the idea of maybe doing it. And that may be a driving factor around innovation, like you said, maybe the adoption of AI, ML, some strategies around there. A lot of it may be financial as well. And so I think when they're approaching us, they're really trying to get the story and the data points behind it, right? Because I think moving to the cloud sounds really great, but what does that mean for the business and what are the outcomes? And a lot of times customers don't know that, right? So they need somebody to lean on. They need somebody to maybe validate what they're looking at. So I think, what we specifically do is always question, why are you moving, right? Why, if you don't have to, then why, right? And if there's a reason behind it, let's see if the financials make sense. So I think, me specifically being on the financial side of things, we look at it from a lens of, is the juice worth the squeeze? Should I make the move, and is that going to provide value to the business afterwards? And then, Brent and the rest of the guys always focus on the technical side of things. And what innovation does that drive with the business? And so I think that's really kind of the conversation is, what value do I have? Maybe beyond a monetary, maybe just a monetary value, but is it adding to the business and, maybe opening up some marketplaces too that they can't get to right now?
Yeah, what about the foundation? Should customers look at OCI first, or should they consider SaaS for some of their Oracle applications first? Where does that fit into a strategy for a customer?
I think it depends on the innovation they're looking for, right? I think if customers can go SaaS and that's the direction they want to go, then by all means go SaaS. I think what we oftentimes run into is customers that have had deployments on these applications that have been 20 plus years sometimes. And that's a hard journey to make directly. And so maybe in that case, it's a move to OCI first. But I think it depends.
Well, I think also customers are looking for expertise and understanding what does that ERP bring to the table for us. And they need to look upon somebody like Centroid to help them navigate, what are the business processes that I'm trying to actually map my environment to. And so whether they move to SaaS, a lot of that conversation has to come into play because some of these well-developed ERPs like eBusiness Suite, SAP, and whatnot have years of IP that's been introduced into them. So if they do make that move to SaaS, Centroid can help them understand that a little bit, from a business process mapping standpoint. But in terms of moving to OCI, it does, like Scott mentioned, provides a lot of different avenues that they can take their current ERP and expand upon it, and be more cost effective at that too.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Talk about innovation though, versus on-prem. What does cloud offer for some of these customers that are looking to make a move like that?
Well, I think from a cost perspective, that's what the bottom line is one of the number one things that people look at least especially those that hold the purse strings. So from a standpoint of technology, OCI provides that ability to scale as you need to. So previously, when you had an ERP, you had to basically size to capacity. How big and how do I size for peak and activity? When you move to the cloud, now you can size it down more to an average setup, and then scale as it bursts. So many ERPs certainly have month-end close. That's always a critical time for them. Or it could be cyclical during the year. So if you're a retail company, during the major buying season between Thanksgiving and New Year's, they've got to have the capacity to handle that. So cloud gives them that capability to scale on that. So that would be my number one thing that provides them that ability. The second, again, I think is just the capabilities that OCI brings. So obviously, they have now autonomous database that is available to people so that they can get away from doing a lot of the management of different databases. But also AI and ML has become such a critical part of how businesses operate. How can they leverage, basically, it used to be just simply analytics and business intelligence that gives us some insight into what that business is doing. But now we can have it where it does a lot of this for us. So being able to leverage large language models and things like Cohere that Oracle's partnering with, that gives us, from a Centroid perspective, gives us a lot of tools that we can present to the customer and let them kind of expand upon what they do currently with their ERP.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's just a lot of innovation, in the cloud versus what you're getting on premise. And plus, you get talking about security and you can talk about scalability. So there's a lot of advantages that customers need to be really thinking about if they want to stay relevant in today's world. And AI is a big piece of it. Everybody's scrambling to figure out where that ROI is and how it's going to differentiate. And if they're not doing it, a lot of people are feeling like they're being left behind.
Well, sometimes AI is looked at as a solution that's looking for a problem. And so Centroid can help them look at different ways on how that particular tool set can be used within their ERP.
Yes, absolutely. Chris, so we're talking about applications. Maybe talk to everyone about the different applications we cover, in the ecosystem. That way they're aware of all of our capabilities.
Sure. So obviously cover all the ERP components around financials, manufacturing, distribution, procurement. We also cover some of the more, and HR as well. We also cover some of the more fringe capabilities like around service. We've got some engagements that we're coming through on that as well. So obviously with the ERP footprint, it's very wide, but we also did an acquisition last year for EPM capabilities with EPMI, so we have that as well. So that's just within the Oracle ecosystem. Obviously, we're running all kinds of other applications that we can support, within the cloud as well.
Yeah. Well, final question to you, Scott. We started 27 years ago, mainly in the United States. We've expanded to India, and it sounds like there's another opportunity in the horizon for us and another continent. What's kind of your thoughts there in serving the marketplace with those kind of expansions?
Yeah, I think when you talk about innovation in general, that really means, especially in the cloud environment, like supporting customer fully, right, 24/7 and on an economical path too, right? So as customers consume more and data sets grow and challenges grow, I think having the ability to support onshore and now nearshore and offshore really means that customers, some of these global deployments that we're working with, are fully supported. And as we have customers that are spinning up, regions in Canada and South America and Germany and different areas as well, having that time zone flexibility is extremely important. But also depth of the bench, and as we mentioned and talked about previously, just about the idea of having skill sets that are very deep versus just a body, right? And so I think what we're talking about in the expansions into South America are extremely exciting from that aspect, to be able to do more and serve our customers more globally.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on today's podcast.
Thank you, Jim.